This episode of Juice Guru Radio is brought to you by Try Best, making healthy living easy.
Welcome to Juice Guru Radio. Discover what the magic and power of juicing can do for you. And now, your host, best-selling author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Juice Fasting, Steve Prusak.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Steve Prusak, and we're here with our studio audience from the Juice Guru Rewind. They're going to ask some questions at the end. So thank you guys for joining live. This is going to be great. We've got Maureen Healy coming up right after this, author of The Emotionally Healthy Child, helping children calm, center, and make smarter choices. She's right here on the show. She also wrote Growing Happy Kids, and she'll be here. So get a juice, some tea or water. We'll be back right after this with Maureen Healy.
Did you know you can make a great living in the hottest new business trend today? The Juice Guru Certification Program is the world's first online course to give you the knowledge and marketing skills to excel as a juicing coach and start making money in no time. Find out more at juicecoachtraining.com.
Juice Guru Radio.
Well, welcome back to the show. I'm Steve Prusak, and like I said, we've got Maureen Healy here, author of The Emotionally Healthy Child and Growing Happy Kids, which won Nautilus and Reader's Favorite Book Awards in 2014, Popular Psychology Today contributor, and sought after public speaker. And here on Juice Guru Radio, let's welcome to the show right now, Maureen Healy.
Thank you.
Well, Maureen, thank you. Welcome to the show. And I love this topic. I've got a stepson, and we're all trying to figure these kids out today. Mm-hmm. So what inspired the book, The Emotionally Healthy Child? And maybe you can define what that means.
Sure. In my office, and over the phone and Zoom as well, I work with children. I've just seen more and more kids and their parents come to me with very reactive children. So that's typically how we start, meaning we feel a big emotion, whether it's frustration or anger. We scream or slam doors or sass our parents back, but when you learn how emotions work and how to express them constructively, then you're beginning on the path of positive emotional health. So that's what I would say is the beginning.
Well, what led you down this path to start educating about how we can grow happier kids? What's your story and how you got into the work?
That's a very good question. I mean, I'll answer that with two pieces. One, I started my career working with CEOs. And I found out sometimes they act like children. So I literally went back to school and I decided to work with children so I could help earlier on. Early on I can help focus a child and help move them in the right trajectory. And then the second piece was, I was one of those kids who was emotional and intense and strong-willed and very reactive. So I really understand the subject matter from the inside out. So that just called me. So I really connect with children and understand not only, intellectually or academically, but the direct experience of having those big emotions and not knowing what to do.
Well, let's define it. What does it mean to be emotionally healthy as a child or even an adult?
I would say the beginning, it's a complex thing to define, but I would say the starting point for emotional health is learning how to identify emotions and express them constructively. So that means any of your emotions. It could be jealousy, anger, it could be overexcitement, overenthusiasm. So embracing emotions and not running from them and beginning to learn how they work and also what you can do with them. And there is in the book, The Emotionally Healthy Child, which I wrote, I talk about the emotionally healthy mindset. So there is more to it than just identifying emotions and expressing them constructively. It's a sort of a sophisticated topic, but that's the beginning point.
Mm. And how do we identify where the kids are? Is there a way to identify their emotional state to know if we need to, help them to calm, center, and make better choices as they get older? And again, it goes through different stages. If we're talking from adolescent to preteen, which I'm dealing with, and then teen, mm-hmm. and then, those teen years, which we all know could be difficult. How do we identify if there is an issue emotionally? Because it's with social media and all the distractions, we might not even know where our kids are at.
Right. Well, I guess the easiest way for me to explain it is that, emotional health is the skill of balance. And just by living, we are sort of, it's normal as a human to get off balance. So, there's a natural disaster or you lose a pet or something. So it's learning tools that we can use throughout our lives to help bring ourselves back to balance. But you bring up good points, which is, today's children are slightly different than how we were raised many years ago, which, there's a lot of issues with devices and other things. So not only do we have to help them with healthy habits, but we need to help them have healthy habits with devices and other things which can take them down the wrong path, not towards their well-being, but away from it.
So now in the book, and again, it's The Emotionally Healthy Child. This is available, bookstores worldwide, Amazon, the website growinghappykids.com, right? Growinghappykids.com. And don't worry, we'll have links to that up at the show notes at Juice Guru Radio, so don't worry if you didn't get that down. But you'll find that there. But you do talk about some steps to change the emotional health in here. Can you share some of that?
So there is something I call the 3 steps to success, which is, learning how to stop or catch yourself, then learning how to calm, and then learning how to make a better choice, or what I would call a smarter choice. So that's a choice that's good for you and good for others. So, for example, say you have a child, he's on the playground, and someone's mean to him, and he immediately, knee-jerk reaction, pushes him. So that's sort of the starting point. But you want to help him learn how to catch himself and then stop, take a beat, and then make a different choice. Maybe on the playground, instead of pushing the kid, he walks away or he uses his words. So that's sort of the process. We start where they are, but helping them give them tools and ideas so that children can begin mastering their own emotions.
So this is done during an observation where we're seeing how they're interacting with other kids, and then we try to kind of come in, or is it like after the fact we sit them down and say, well, let's rethink on how that could have been handled? Well,
I guess the idea is that emotional health is it's not a box that you check. It's something that we work on at all ages throughout our lives. I was just giving you a scenario where, your child is on the playground and they're in elementary school and you see a situation. When we visibly, another way of thinking about it is, when you see behavior or acting out or even a child sinking into a funk, that behavior means there's an emotional imbalance. So they need tools and ideas to help get them back to balance. So when you see things where they're out of whack, okay, that's something to work on. And even if your child is, for example, using candy or devices to ignore their uncomfortable feelings, it doesn't mean they're totally emotionally unhealthy. Those just aren't signs of emotional health, and there's things to work on.
Okay, yeah. So it's not like it's not so literal that we've got a toolbox and boxes to check. It's more an ongoing monitoring thing.
Well, we know when there's a problem. I mean, there's no parent or teacher that's in the classroom or home when someone's screaming to think, oh, this is working out. I mean, we know, and it's not just about challenging emotions. It could be helpful emotions. The child's overexcited, and then they hit the vase in the dining room, and the vase falls and breaks. So it's kids that need to learn how to sort of slow down and calm and learn how to develop some coping mechanisms, because just the nature of life, you have big feelings and, there's challenging things and there's great things. So you want to help a child learn how to steer their own emotional boat. So, yes, there are certain situations that are more serious than others, and they may need professional assistance, but we're talking about typically the regularly developing child that, along with math and reading, they need to learn emotional health. It's just sort of another subject that's going to help them be a success on the planet.
Well, you talk about in the book that they can make smarter choices even when emotionally challenged. And can you explain what a smart choice is?
Sure. The idea is that a smart choice is good for you and good for others. So, I had a child I recently worked with that threw a chair across her classroom. So that was good for her. She got her anger out immediately, but it wasn't good for the classroom. It wasn't good for the other peers and students. So that's not a smart choice. You want to do something where you make a choice. In that scenario, maybe she could have spoken to the teacher. She could have taken a bathroom break. She could have done other things. So you want to teach kids on, how do you sort of pre-pave a path and identify what are some smart choices. And I have in the book something called the Smart Choices Checklist to help you do that. But the point is that we can all make smart choices even when we're feeling big emotions, and it just takes practice on how to do that. Maybe the first day isn't the right, you make a mistake, but you can learn to do things differently. And that's where emotional health is a skill to be learned. No one is born with it. We literally learn it like going to the gym and lifting weights, you get muscle. So, practicing different ideas and tools, you begin to become emotionally healthier.
Well, you talk about the habitual patterns of behavior, and if they don't slow down during these emotional times, they'll never, correct. So how do we teach the kids to stop themselves in their track during these situations?
Yeah, I mean, every child is different, so there's sort of, there's not a cookie cutter method, but the one thing I would say is that's why slowing down and the practice of mindfulness or paying attention is so helpful, and that children who can learn to go a little bit slower and, see, detect where emotions are in their body and then take a pause when they're having a challenging one, and they typically scream when they hear XYZ. They can learn how to stop and take a few deep breaths and do something differently. So giving children the ideas and tools, and of course role modeling, because, they're great mimics. So giving them some great behavior to model or learning together. I think the most important thing as parents is we just learn together. We don't have to be perfect. We make mistakes, whether we curse in the car or we scream or we lose our temper. I mean, we just all need to learn together. So that's the key piece.
And just kind of talking each other through those moments. If we slip as adults, how do we deal with that with the child?
Yeah, I think we always need to repair relationships and be honest in age-appropriate ways. So, that sometimes you get really frustrated and you yell and say, you know what, I could have handled that differently, and I apologize. And I hear what you're saying, and you explain in age-appropriate ways, like, I'm distressed, we have to get to school on time, and we've got 10 minutes, and I'm doing the best I can so that you can go to a great school, so I just need your assistance too, sort of partnering with the child versus punishment. So, there's always a way to learn how to connect with a child that honors who they are, that validates their feelings, but the answer still might be no and I love you, but you work together on things.
Now, school shootings have become a reality, sadly, in this society. And it was interesting as I picked up my stepson today, and he was like, oh, they had a whole bunch of drills today. And I was like, oh, what, like a ringing bell? He's like, no, Steve, technology today, it's more advanced now. They come on with a voice that says, attention, there has been an identified hazard in the school. Please exit the building. So obviously, this is always on the back of kids' minds. And how do we alleviate some of those fears? Because I'll tell you, when Eli comes home sometimes, I'm not sure exactly what to say about what's going on in the news and what they're talking about in school. It's pretty – and actually at his school, a couple of the teachers were the victims of that big shooting in Vegas last year, and actually were victim to that. So, like, how do we alleviate these fears? And I remember another time he didn't want to go to the movies because he heard about some of the shootings, and he thought if he goes to the movies, he's going to get shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is, to do our best to stay in the present moment, because everything is okay right now. And that we want to help our child, Eli or someone in that situation, know that, your school is doing everything they can to keep you safe. I'm doing everything I can to keep you safe. We are on this task. We're all learning together. And that, there are unknowns in the world, but we're going to make it through together. And that I want you to be able to ask me any questions. And I really do think that's why a practice of mindfulness is so important, because you come back to your center, you come back to that place of calmness, of perfection inside of you that can help you calm and come back to center. Because when we're scared or fearful or worried, it's about something in the past that just happened, or something about the future that we're afraid is going to happen. So when you're in the present moment, everything is well in most moments. So helping him know that he's not alone and that you're with him together, and that he's got advocates, and that the school is doing everything they can to keep it a safe school, I think is important. And I also think, depending on the child and the age, doing your best to not expose them to harsh media that they can't get out of their mind that really scares them. So, I mean, of course, that's a hard thing to do, but I think it can be helpful.
It's too bad we have to, even talk about a topic like that. But thank you. Again, it's Maureen Healy, the book, The Emotionally Healthy Child, and available bookstores worldwide, Amazon. Maureen, before we wind down here, though, anything we didn't touch on that you want readers to get out of this book? And then I have one final question before we close out.
Sure. I mean, I guess the biggest piece of the puzzle is that emotional health is a skill to be learned. And, I put together the book, The Emotionally Healthy Child, just because there are key ideas that when children learn them, and key tools that really work for children, that when they learn, it makes their lives easier. And that's why I wanted to put the book together, just to help more people sort of master their big feelings and, live a healthier, ultimately happier life.
And a great mission. And, one thing I always close with is, we certify people to become certified juice therapists and build their passion into a business or career, live their passion. And obviously that's what you're doing. You've decided to step into your celebrity and published author and doing speaking events and everything. It's incredible. What was that for you to make you decide to step into becoming an entrepreneur and building a business out of this for those that are in the certified juice program, and how, maybe they want to do that too?
I just felt called to work with children, and I feel like I'm just representing a very timely idea, so I don't feel like it's Maureen Healy out there. I feel like it's just an idea whose time has come, and I'm just one of the teachers teaching about it. So for me, it's sort of it keeps me in my joy and in the using my unique gifts, which I think everyone wants to use. You want to live an authentic, happier life, feeling like what you do matters, and that's, I think, what we're all trying to do.
Right. It's just being in alignment. Maureen Healy right here on Juice Guru Radio. Maureen, thank you for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun, and thanks for taking the time to get this message out.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank you, guys. I'm Steve Prusak, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Juice Guru Radio. Find out more about us at juicegururadio.com. Until next time, get your juice on.